seeing people in person for the first time. I've been able to do this in person quite some time, so I'm excited to do faces. My name is Tony Register, Anthony Register, or Hey You, whatever. We have Tony here as our presence when we're in a meeting or conversation. I'm always Anthony because otherwise we both answer. Sometimes she doesn't like the answer I give her.
I don't have another choice. Tony's just my given name. He becomes Anthony.
So, anyways, welcome. Thanks everybody for coming out tonight. I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to this for several months now. And so I guess today we've done a couple of things that I can pass if you need it. You see, help yourself to some of the food. Enjoy the cheeses and the cookies and what have you. And if you didn't get a chance, I've got a sign-in sheet in the back so I can see who I was here tonight. Get on my head and have a survey so I can hear what you liked, what you didn't like about our guest over here. Okay, and me too.
And then you'll read them aloud to the class.
So I think it's all the kind of housekeeping. If you haven't found the restrooms, they're straight back there in the back. And I think that's what we have. So I'm excited here. We have Mary Kravitz tonight. And the pronunciation of her, I kept saying Kravitz now. So
I know, and I got introduced today earlier as Kravitz, and I'll tell you what, you don't correct people because then you look like the ass.
Oh.
So you just smile.
Yes.
Kravitz, whatever.
Coaching moment. But really excited to have her here today. Magnetize coaching, and she's worked with CFOs with Microsoft. She's worked with thought leaders. She's worked with coaches like ourselves, some that are seasoned, some are not, some that to help people get started with their business. I think I could probably easily assume that we have all worked those crazy hours trying to get our business off the ground. I know I've spoken to several of you about that. And that's the type of individuals that we like that Mary likes to engage in to help us figure out how do we get away from those hours, how do we increase our productivity, how do we engage our clients. And even for me tonight, when I was doing the paperwork, doing my homework like a good little class guy, I learned something today. I'm excited to learn more about what I learned because we're going to expand upon it. So without further ado, Mary, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. I love this intimate group. We're going to get so much done today. I'm very excited. All right, we're going to start with you. I'm going to ask you if you've ever felt like any of these people as you're introducing yourself to a group. Don't be pushy. Don't look desperate. Did someone say coaching? Don't blow it. Don't say too much. Don't say too little, or your brain just locks up. Okay, if you can relate to any of these, yeah, okay, thank you. Then you are in the right place. Because what I know about you is that your heart is in the right place, you are accomplished, and what I'm here today with is just some structure, some insights. We're probably gonna bend your brain a little bit about what messaging is all about so that you can be getting better results. So we're here at Magnetize Your Messaging, how to explain coaching to attract new clients faster. Here's what we're gonna cover. Number one, how and when and how to explain what you do. You're gonna create your magnetic 30-second introduction so people quickly say, I need you. And then we're gonna go bigger picture to the 6 essential elements of client generation. The thing to note is that we're going to talk about messaging. Messaging is not about something cutesy or clever or about persuading people to do things they don't want to do. It is about distracting people. This is one kind of cog in the wheel of the client generation system. So I'm going to give you that bigger picture as well today. Notes have locked up. All right, so why is this topic important to you? You probably have about 22 other things you could be doing right now, and you're here. So why is this topic important to you? I want to build my business. Build your business. Perfect. What else?
I'm branding new.
Branding new. Excellent. Excellent.
Transitioning.
Transitioning. Okay.
Better understanding.
Better understanding. Anything else? Okay.
To tweak my messaging.
Tweak your messaging. Yes. And Christina was a client of mine many years ago. She had not even gotten her work visa. She had not just barely gotten here from Germany.
Yes.
And we worked together. So I love hearing that. I did a bigger workshop on messaging the other day, and one of my clients came back and she just took her message from here to here. It was amazing. So you're gonna get some insights today. You're gonna see some tweaks or some things you can do. And please understand it is a process, because when I first did my first workshop on messaging, it was 3 days, I spent 2.5 of it crying. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to not make you cry today, but it can be frustrating. It can be frustrating because you want those perfect words. Get the structure, understand the perspective, understand the purpose, and you'll be equipped to do what you need to do with it. So, just a little background on me, because whenever I hear someone talk, I'm like, yeah, where did you learn this? Did you read a book about it, or is this just theoretical? So, I'm a skeptic, that's me. So everything I'm gonna show you comes from my own in the trenches experience. I have a business, it's a training business, had it for about 12 years now. We're on the track for the $500,000 mark, so we're like that tiny but mighty little agency. But when I started, it didn't look anything like this. I was just super excited that I was starting a business that contributes to the prosperity of others. It used my strengths, and I was running around like a crazy person. I was undercharging, I was undervaluing, and I had no plan to get from where I was to actually making money. So it only took me 2 years to completely burn out. I was diagnosed with extreme adrenal exhaustion, which I didn't even know was a thing until then, and I had about 4 hours of energy a week to work my business. So as I was in the midst of that crisis, a question popped into my head, and this is the first thing I recommend you write down. There's no place for it on your worksheet, but the question that popped into my head was, what's working? That was it. What's working? I no longer had the time or energy to chase down whatever Facebook's doing with its algorithm this week, or whatever the latest, greatest marketing trend was. I needed to know that whatever I put my energy into, it was going to get me results consistently and predictably. And starting with that one question, my business actually started to grow as I recovered my health, and eventually it developed into this full client generation system. And this is the reason that my business has doubled several times over. It's the reason my clients consistently increase their business 50% or more. And it's what I'm going to share with you today. All right, so let's talk about when and what. Yes?
Will we get this presentation afterwards?
If you email me separately and ask for it, because I don't usually send it out, but if you like it, yes, it's on your Thank you. You're welcome, absolutely. All right. Oh, and that's the other thing is I'm going to do a couple of teaching things, and then we're going to break for questions, and then we'll do the last teaching and come back for questions. So in order to stay on time, that's the way we do it. All right, but that question was fine. I was not reprimanding, just to be clear. All right. Yes. So the first thing is just think about your coach, and just imagine in your mind, when do you think it's the right time to explain coaching to someone you meet? Just get that picture in your mind, get your answer in your mind. Now I'm going to give you a scenario. Your car broke down, and you take it to the garage, and the mechanic starts to tell you all about the special drill he's going to use and the little pry bar to get the door open, and then he's going to tell about the Whoosy widget that lifts the car up, and you're sitting there going, you don't care about how he does it. All you want to do, all you want to know, you perk up when he says, I've got a loaner car for you and I'll have it to you by 5 o'clock tomorrow. So when you're thinking about coaching, don't explain it. You know what ICF's job is? Promote coaching. Get awareness around coaching. It's one of its jobs. Get awareness around coaching. Your job as a business owner, in general, is different. It is not about explaining coaching. And so I'm going to walk you through some vocabulary that helps you define this a little bit better. And then we'll talk about exactly where it goes in the whole process.
I know what you did to make it work, because I couldn't get it to work.
There's always one troublemaker. You know? That's where you just make it
Hold the carrot.
You got to put one in for me to
No,
clap.
you need to pressure while you pour water. Hold it up.
No, I was telling Anthony earlier that I was presenting through lunch, which is always a challenge because people are eating. And then I'm getting to like the middle of the presentation and getting people's momentum going and everything. And then the people come around and they're serving plates of brownies. You're making me compete with your friends. So a quick side note as coffee is being prepared, this is perfect. One of the things I do is most of my business comes from speaking like this. And so I'm not gonna talk about that whole method and everything, but one of the things that, generally speaking, you do when you see speakers is you watch what they're doing. So I invite you to also learn contextually if you've ever thought about generating new business from speaking. Because this is what I do. Over the last 4 years, I've generated over $1 billion in revenue. So I'm from speaking for free.
I'm making hers now, this is not mine.
My husband and I have a joke, the key to a successful marriage is knowing who to blame, so we're good. It's a joke too, it's not past the grace.
Oh.
Alright. Okay, so now, hold on to your hats, we're gonna do some vocabulary. So, starting with the words, because I hear a lot of people say things like, oh, it's a prospect, it's a lead, it's a client, well, being clear about what we mean by each of these will actually help with the messaging. So here's what so stranger, obviously you know nothing about them. Okay, good. A suspect, now this is a vocabulary word you are going to want to embrace because this is where confusion arises. A suspect is someone you suspect could use your services, but they haven't said, hey Renee, I want help. Okay, so you suspect they're in a different place than a prospect, which are the people who have self-identified and said, hey, I'd like to have a conversation with you about your work. And a client is someone who has paid you. How many times, and Christina, I think you did this once, I got a client! Did they pay you? No, they're not a client. We've all done it. We've all done it. It's sad. Okay, so why is their vocabulary important? Well, what you say to each person is different. So when you're talking to a stranger or a suspect, you talk about your ideal client. You're basically talking about them. You want to find out about them. You're not talking about you services. Messaging in my world is that first initial meeting. It's the thing that attracts someone to you. It doesn't tell your story. It doesn't tell your background or your accreditation. It attracts someone to you to say, I want to know more. So that's the seat that the strangers and the suspects are in. They're the people who you want to find out, would they like to know more? No explaining coaching. No explaining coaching at this point. Prospects. Someone says to you, you introduce yourself to them and they say, ooh, tell me more about that. You say, or oh, that sounds really interesting. Your response is, great. Tell me what is it about that that interests you? Get them talking. I want to do this. I mean, I already know what people need usually because they've been around for a while, but I want them to tell me. I want them talking. And then I want to get them on my calendar. Say, you know what I do might be a really good fit for us. This is not the right forum to have that conversation. Why don't we get on the calendar and talk about this, see if it would be a good fit? They're like, okay, email me. No. Do you like playing email cha-cha? Me neither. Okay, let's just get it out and get it done. Oh, thank you. Okay, so your job with a prospect is to get them on your calendar, have a conversation with them. If they say send me information, they're probably not interested, by the way. That's code. All right, and a client, okay, so where do you explain coaching? It's between the prospect and the client. And it's usually about one sentence. I wrote this. So when you've talked to someone, you've had your sales conversation, they figured out what it is that is bothering them, you've helped them get in touch with what they need, and they get to the end and you say, okay, so this sounds like a good fit, yes? Okay, great, I want them to make, I think, they should have made the decision. And then you tell them the method, you tell them about the drills and the lifts and the doohickeys, okay? And here's what I wrote. Here's what I think you're gonna find really exciting about working together. The coaching process is not about loading you up with lots of advice, but rather working with you to dig deep within yourself to discover the answers that are most profoundly true for you. That's your explanation of coaching, and it comes a lot later in the game than I bet you suspected. I wrote that myself, I'm pretty proud of that.
I like it.
All right, so why is it so important to know the what and the when, and why am I doing vocabulary? Because it is super awkward and unprofitable when you get it wrong. Yes. All right, I'm gonna walk through 2 scenarios with you. I'm gonna ask you to put yourself in the shoes in 2 scenarios. Scenario number 1, you're meeting me for the first time, or no, for this first scenario, you've seen me around, I've met you a few times, and you have no interest in my services. You're like, yeah, heard it, not really my cup of tea. So you're like, nope, don't need it. And I walk up to you and I say, hey Tony, I've seen you around for a while here, and I can see you're struggling in your coaching business. And so what I know that I've helped a lot of people, and I know I can really help you. My people, they increase their income, they do all these good things. And so would you like to talk about working together? Because I think I could really help you. Yeah. Okay. What's the feeling? Yucky, pressure,
Salesy.
Yeah.
I know it all.
assumptive, yeah? Yeah. Okay. Obviously, that doesn't even fall into any of the categories of what you should do ever. But if you start going to networking events, you will meet that person who will do that. And they're doing it wrong, okay? Okay, scenario number 2. You have decided, okay, seen Mary around, seen a couple of her presentations, I'm gonna hire her. It's a scary decision. I just hired a new coach. It's terrifying. But you've made that decision, and you walk up to me and you say, hey Mary, I'm ready. Let's work together. And I go, okay.
Here's my card. Get in touch.
That's painful for Monica.
Yeah.
Yeah, awful. You say it's awful, but people literally do that, and they think it's the most generous thing they can do to give you space to make your own decision. Here's my general rule. If someone says they want to work with you, believe them and make it easy for them to hire you. Okay? So that's my awkwardness for you for the day. All right, this is the pushy factor. That is a big fear factor for a lot of people. This is Jared, worked with him many years ago, just when he was starting his business. And he was terrified, came out of corporate. He had no problem with consulting, getting out to people and saying, oh, you should use our services, because it was someone else. But all of a sudden, it's him. And he's like, I don't want to go around going, look at me. Had this just awful feeling about that. So we worked together, and his gut's that gut instinct is in the right place. That's not what to do. Nobody wants to hear that. But getting that together, getting his plan together, he was able to create a plan that really worked for him. He enrolled his first big client in the first 30 days. So these are things, all these little details, they add up to really good results when implemented. Okay, so let's do the fun part. This is what I think is the fun part. This is creating your magnetic introduction. All right, what are we going to do here? Just to show you where we are on the map. Now, the introduction is all in messaging, but it kind of weaves through everything, and the point is to get people over to a conversation. You've met people before, probably, and they tell you what they do, and you're like, okay, and then maybe you see them again, and then you have a coffee, and then you see them again, and then 6 months later, you go, I get it. I understand what you do now. I just hired someone last month who does that now. That happens. It's painful. So what we want instead is for someone to recognize right away. If they are your ideal client, they have to recognize it right away. They have to recognize that you're a solution for them right away, so they don't hire other people. All right. So this is the goal. This is the goal to keep in mind, because I will tell you, if you do any training at all, you will go to another how to introduce yourself class. Tony, you've probably been to one, if anyone's been in business. Understand the purpose. The purpose of the way I design the strategy is to discover immediately if your ideal client is standing in front of you. That's it. Is your ideal client standing in front of you? So here's how we do it. Some ideal client tips. Your ideal client description never starts with the words, I'd be willing to work with. It is absolutely fine to have that vocabulary in your business. We all take on clients from time to time that aren't in that perfect, like, middle circle of the bullseye ideal client. However, you don't build your messaging around that, around the exceptions. So never the I'd be willing to work with. Ideal client descriptions don't include your certifications, the methods you use, or the school you attended. None of that. So here's an exercise for ideal clients. I want you to answer the questions, who do you work with? Do your homework in class. So you're gonna do this in 2 ways. Number one, write down the thing that immediately comes to mind, and then you'll take this away and probably do some additional work on it outside of our time here today. Who do you work with? And this is a very general description. I work with women, I work with executives, I work with doctors. Very general, very broad. That's okay. Number two, how are they feeling right now? Your ideal client is grappling with something. How are they feeling about it? How are they feeling about it? Sorry, I'm always locking someone. Stand over here for a little bit. How do they feel about it? Are they frustrated? Are they overwhelmed? Are they excited? What's going on for them? What's their main problem? What is the problem that is keeping them up at night? What surface solution or outcome are they looking for? This is usually something that if they were standing in line at Starbucks, they would share with a complete stranger. Like, oh, just wish I had more hours in the day. Welcome, by the way. Hi. Just wish I had more hours in the day. Surface solution. And number 5 is, once they solved that problem, once they got number 4 all handled, what would be the thing that would allow them to do? What is the deeper solution that they may be able to accomplish? Now, all of these should be answered. Now I'm going to tell you the secret to it all. All these should be answered with your highest level product in mind, or service in mind, or the service you want to fill. So the people that you wanted, you should be answering these questions for them. Then we're going to just plug these into a fill in the blank solution. Fill in the blank format. Hired by blank, who are blank with blank, and who want blank so they can blank. It's crystal clear, I am sure, at this point. Let me give you some examples of what this looks like. I'm an executive leadership coach. If you'd like to see someone's eyes glaze over, just say these words. Okay? It doesn't mean much to people. I'm hired by newly promoted first-time managers who are feeling in over their heads with their new management role to create a high-performing team so they can fast-track their next promotion. Okay, if this person, this newly promoted first-time manager, was standing in front of someone and they said, I'm an executive leadership coach, could they walk away and need to have 5 coffees with the person before they understood what they did? Possibly. But if they said this to them, they'd be like, that's me, immediately. Immediately. All right, another example. I'm a bookkeeper. If you'd really like to send someone into a coma, just tell them this. I'm a bookkeeper. I'm hired by businesses that are overwhelmed with having gone through a growth spurt and who want someone else to handle the details that are falling through the cracks so you can focus on taking your business to the next level. This was a real life example, so was the other one. This guy, he tripled his referrals in a month, just changing this. All right, I'm a business coach, and now we've lost them forever. I'm hired by business owners who are frustrated with client generation and who want to significantly grow their business so they can stop working nights and weekends. That's pretty much mine, except for I changed it to coaches. Q&A, all right. So there are a lot of nuances to this, and I would like to get your questions, or I'd like to hear what you've come up with so far. Renee?
Okay, I'll tell you mine.
Okay.
I'm hired by individuals who are feeling
powerless with life and who want to gain control so they can fearless to live a life by their rules, live lawless. That's my last name.
Okay. And I think I actually recognize your name now. Wait a minute. Okay, individuals, it is a clunky word. People, completely fine.
I really would love to work with women, but I don't want to at this point of building a business. Discourage men.
Mm-hmm. People.
Okay.
And I'm gonna talk about niche in a minute after we talk to you. Okay, so the rest of it is a little bland, okay? It's the right ideas, and one of the things we do with messaging is we look for 3 core characteristics or 3 core concepts that all of your clients possess. And this is what helps keep you on track. So for me, my clients, they want time freedom, they want to grow their business, and they generally want a plan. Yeah, and so just centering everything around that, grow the business. I could be talking about getting more clients, making more money. It's all about growing a business. Having a plan. I have all different ways of saying getting a plan. And time freedom. Spending too much time on this, working nights and weekends. So your concepts are good, they're on point. However, they're just a little, they're a little boring. And it's a balance because my introduction to me is boring, like so boring. But to my ideal clients, it's exactly what they need to hear. So it's a balance. You don't want to get too super cutesy or anything. Now, one thing about lawless in your first introduction, it's, once they get to know you, they're gonna love it. But until they get to know you, it's making it about you at first meeting, which is a little bit of a gamble, because they can feel a little like lawless. I don't know what that means, and they can feel a little awkward. You want them saying yes, 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 all along the way. Okay, do you want to hear about niche? My rant on niche? Niches? Niche? Which would you prefer? Niche? Niche?
Target.
Target. Well, you see, I usually use Target, so you'll hear people in my profession who I'd like to punch in the face, who say if you don't have a niche, you will perish. And you've heard this.
I was told that last night, actually.
Okay,
Oh.
well, tell me who that is, and I'll punch him in the face, okay? Niching is a great idea, and it can keep you from doing anything that makes you money for a very long time if you let it paralyze you. If you are an online retailer picking a niche, a demographic, it's critical because your online search engineing and all of that, you have to. With coaches, I generally find you fall into 1 of 2 categories. There's either a natural niche, was working with a woman, her background was IT, 30 years in the IT field. She went to become a coach. She wanted to work with women in the IT field. They're just very natural. She has her network there, she has her passion there, she has her knowledge there. It was very natural. The rest of it's like, well, I gotta pick a niche. How about doctors? Or how about this? And we just drive ourselves crazy. So I prefer to find your niche doing an earn while you learn method.
A what?
Earn while you learn method. So the idea is your ideal client has a certain set of characteristics. They are they're high achievers, they are stuck and don't know why, and they want to climb Mount Everest. I don't know, they want to do greater things. Okay, so you've got these, that's who they are, and then you think, okay, these high achievers, where would I find them? Well, I'd probably find them in the top levels of financial services, attorneys, and maybe one other target. And then you start working those targets and just go, okay, how can I be around them here? How can I be around them here? How can I speak for them here? And those are your target markets. And then you just start to see who vibes with you, who really gets it. And you just earn while you learn. You'll take some clients and you're like, whoa, never gonna do that again. And that's okay. But it's the discovery method. I way exceeded 6 figures before I chose a niche. I mean, I chose a niche, whatever, January 10th this year. I just didn't it. It didn't make sense for me. I didn't need to. And it hasn't hurt me in the least. So that's my rant on niching. All right. Other questions, or when I take your introduction out for a run?
All right, I'll take mine. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
How do you get started? Like, how do you get started with people? Like, do you just go up to strangers at Starbucks and hey,
I got a deal for you.
you kinda look tired. No wonder you need so much coffee. Like, I mean, how do you get started? I'm not, you know, I'm kinda shy, so I don't know. I don't wanna be like posting reels on Instagram or, you know, how do you get started?
Getting started is hard. You have to learn everything. Okay. So having a lot of grace for yourself, really important. The number one way that coaches get clients is through referrals. It's through relationships, through close relationships with people who trust you.
I thought it was just selling cars.
What's that? What was that?
It was just like
Selling cars.
You know, you say that, but my first entrepreneurial venture, I thought people were gonna walk into my real estate office that I joined. I thought they were gonna buy houses like they bought hamburgers. I really, really thought that. So I had a huge learning curve, and it was difficult and painful, and I made a lot of wrong turns. And I don't want to scare you off, but I also want to normalize any overwhelm you're feeling, because all you have to learn is everything. So one of the things I'm going to offer to you, if you'd like, are further courses on the two ways that coaches get clients the most, and that's referral generation and speaking. So let's do that now. Okay. So I'm going to gift these to you, because this is all, I mean, it's nuts and bolts and words and everything, but the point is get more clients. Simply get clients. That's my business name. And so the method is important, but things, the how to. So there's two courses I want to get into your hands that go deeply into the how to ask, how to invite, how to talk to people for referral generation. So I want to give you that. It's called Referral Generation Made Simple. I'm going to get that into your hands. And then if you want to do speaking as a lead generation tool, the first hurdle is getting on stages. So I have a course also called Fill Your Speaking Calendar. Happy to get that into your hands as well. And I'm going to recommend you do something right now. So here's how I'm going to get it into your hands. This is very dangerous, but I'm going to go for it. Get out your phone and open up your email and send me an email. And that way I will know to get you those two things. And that will go into, and what was your name? I'm sorry, I didn't get to name. Maggie, nice to meet you. Thanks for asking the question and voicing it. So my email address is mary@simplygetclients.com. It's at the bottom of the handout too, anyway. mary@simplygetclients.com. And in the subject line, you can just put the word smile, or an emoji if you're feeling whimsical, is fine. Just put smile in the subject line. And my team will make sure to get those resources out to you. That's my gift, because I love this stuff, and also knowing how is so critical. I'll get that into your hands.
Mary, may I add a comment here?
Yes, please.
I've been through all of these courses because of Mary, and they're exceptional. They're really valuable, and my two marketing strategies are referrals and speaking. And when I started my business, like a couple of months later, the pandemic hit, and my plans to do lots and lots of networking, they, went somewhere. So I had to shift gears, and because of those courses, I started speaking, and all the virtual events and all of it creates so many clients. So this stuff works. It really does.
And you know what? I always think, I think we all think that our stuff is good, and I don't put stuff out if it isn't good quality to my exacting standards. I I just got invited to do continuing education for Georgetown's International Institute for Transformational Leadership. So that was, to me, I almost started crying. So I'm like, oh, I would be really like me. But yeah, so that was really,
So you said subject smile. That's it.
that's all you need. That's all you need. My team is trained. They know to look for that. I have the most cheerful inbox of anyone I know. There you go. All right. You had a question too, or a comment.
Oh, no, I was gonna do the introduction.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm brand new with this. This is, so,
This is a safe space.
well, I've heard that before and it wasn't, so.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
sorry.
I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah.
So, I'm hired by veterans who are feeling overwhelmed with civilian life and who want to transition better so they can be productive members of society.
Okay.
Is that too niche?
No, you have a natural niche because you said before you're a veteran.
Yes, ma'am.
And the question is that what they want? They just want to be a productive member of society. Is that really like?
Well, most of them actually do, that they're just overwhelmed because the structure isn't there any longer. Nobody's telling them, hey, you gotta wake up, you gotta be at PT at 06:30, we're gonna PT for an hour, then we're gonna go to
Right.
chow, then you can come, alright, we're going out to the field in 2 weeks, so now we gotta start doing the logistics of that. So it's very structured for a lot of them,
Right.
and a lot also don't have any real skills when they get out of the military, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to shoot, and that's, everybody has not everybody, but a lot of them think, oh, well, I can just go back home and be a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just because you can shoot doesn't mean you can be a cop.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of young individuals that are suffering from that.
Let me hear it again.
Okay. I'm hired by veterans who are feeling overwhelmed with civilian life and who want to transition better so they can be productive members of society.
Okay. So I think it's all on point, and I'm wondering if there's just a little bit of detail that would better identify your ideal client. So they want to transition better. Do they want to transition better, or do they want a plan for what's next? It's just a different way to say it.
Right.
And what you're looking at getting at is, what are they literally saying? What are their words? I think if you said this to people, people would get it. And if they were your person, they would say, I need you. The next level to that is once you start working with people and you hear what people are saying who hire you and what people are saying who don't hire you. And then refine it to the language for the people who are hiring. It might be that the people over here are saying, I want to transition, and the people over here are like, I need to figure out my own structure, and I'm going to make a difference in a different way. They may be just saying something a little more powerful, a little more precise, and you just want to key in on that language.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is a great place to start, I would say. Yeah.
And the family members of veterans.
Yes.
So what are people who live with veterans and are, seeing them, what would their definition be? Because they are your referrals to the veterans.
Yes.
Yes. All right, so now for the advanced stuff. This is good. So here's what happens when people are in front of you. They're gonna do one of two things. They're gonna say, that's me, or they're gonna have a look like, it's not them. Newsflash, it's not them. Okay, and that's okay. So I'll tell you a story. I worked with a client, and their introduction was perfect. We just dialed it in. It was so perfect. And she worked with managers who managed managers, very specific. She said, Mary, on her next appointment, she goes, this morning I went walking with two people. One of them is a manager of managers and the other is a second grade teacher. I told him my introduction. Manager of managers says, oh, we need to talk. And the other one says, I don't get it. So I think I need to change it. Well, that's okay. This is part of the learning process, because here's the thing. What was the purpose of this? To find out if your ideal client is standing in front of you, which means that there are going to be people who feel left out and are confused. And that's okay, because you don't do a hair flip and walk away at that point if they don't get it. What you do then is you want to describe your ideal client from the outside. your description is so clear, people would recognize that from the outside or the inside. If it's the internal experience of someone, it would be recognizable by an outsider as well. For some people, not so much, like this bookkeeper who, people going through a growth spurt. Their friends, this bookkeeper's, or their ideal client's friends, they might not recognize it from that description. So sometimes if people go, you go, well, you know that person in your life who, and then you describe what they're seeing. You know that person who's always stressed out and they say their team's acting like a bunch of 5-year-olds? That's who I help. That's a great referral for me. So internal experience is this introduction, and then you just tag on for people who look confused that external description. Okay, other questions?
Maybe I have a question, not specifically about the introduction, but what I've seen over time is in the beginning I thought I need to put myself in a niche, and I thought I had one very naturally because of my background. I was working in pharmaceuticals for so many years, so I was trying to tailor-make my 30-second introduction to healthcare and pharma. And it didn't really resonate with that many people, and I spoke to way more people who are not in that industry who are like, I want to work with you. So I felt like, okay, something is off, something doesn't work. And then I realized I also have another niche, because I'm originally from Germany, I'm an expat here, and I did work in international organizations before, so kind of knowing what they're going through and the cultural piece and all of that. So try to change my intro to, international talents, all of that. It did resonate with some of them, obviously, and I got some clients through that, but now if I'm looking over the time and like the people I've been working with or working right now, there's not this like one pattern anymore, and I don't wanna niche, and I stopped that a while ago. But I'm still struggling with that one 30-second intro because they have so many different problems and issues, and so it's like there's a pattern there around time management and not setting any boundaries, not having the confidence when we talked about some of my female clients, and then there's the executives who are having trouble to communicate to their teams now with the remote setting and all that. So I'm like, what is it? How can I put all of that together to have that resonating message? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And so what I would do is I would go through all of your notes from your sales conversation.
Yes.
And I would look for the patterns, the phrases. And you want to go broader. So you'll probably find things like they want to achieve the next level of success and they're stuck and they don't know why. Because now boundary, like all of those things, it fits. And so this is one of those things about messaging. You want it to be so precise and yet broad enough for all of your people to see themselves in it, to be able to interpret it to their particular situation. So I would zoom out. I would zoom out on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, questions, comments? All
I
right.
don't know if I have any questions, just kind of help me kind of frame up what's my ideal client. So I'm still exploring that, but I can see more clearly now by thinking what you shared, what those two groups that I see that relate but they're different. If that makes sense. So
Yeah.
that's just for me. I see things a little more clear that help me. When people ask me what do I do, I just help a lot.
And I have two details that I just realized I want to share. So there's always the question, do I say I'm a coach or not? And you made me think of it because you're agile.
Yeah.
We had that conversation about your specialty in agile. So the general rule is if someone knows they need your profession, say your profession. If they don't. Guess what, coaches? 95% of the time, people don't know they need a coach, they know they need a solution to a problem. So, You've heard people say everyone's a coach these days, which means as soon as someone hears that word, they're making assumptions. They're assigning their own definitions to it.
When they start putting up guardrails.
What was that?
So they start putting up guardrails so that if you start talking, they just, I don't need one.
Yeah.
I hate the word life coach now because it's like, it's been bastardized
Yeah.
of, I give good advice, so I made myself a life coach. So when they go, oh, you're a coach, like a life coach, I go, I'm a certified coach. I use energy to work with people to gain control, right?
All right.
Right?
That's
So,
your tool belt.
yeah,
You're describing your tool belt.
yeah.
So this is, I'm gonna give an example if you don't mind. Tool belt. Stay away from your tool belt for as long as possible. As long as someone says you're a coach, you're a life coach. What do you know about life coaches? Don't be a coach, all right? Ask them a question. I always want to find out where are they coming from because they might, you know what their next thing, I've been looking for a life coach. I'm a life coach.
I am today.
Yep. You got it. Tell me why you asked that. Tell me why you're looking for one. In this process, keeping the spotlight on someone else, one, it's more comfortable, two, it is more effective. So if someone asks for, are you a life coach? Why do you ask? Like, what do you know about life coaching? Fantastic.
I like something too, is like, it's like telling someone you're a coach without telling them you're a coach, telling like that statement you made.
Yeah.
This is what I do, this is my passion, this is how it works. And most people, in my experience, they don't even know what a coach is. Career
Yeah.
coach, like, they never even heard of it, it's like right over their head.
And
So I
they
like the fact
don't
that you
care.
can show up and not introduce yourself as a coach and unless there's context. This is who I am, this is what I do, and who I serve. And do it real quickly, what we just shared,
Real quick.
without saying the coach at all. And if they pick up on it then or later, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's just something I'm thinking about. I like that because I don't feel uncomfortable.
Because and this is where, the thing is, another reason why this works so well for coaches is because most coaches don't want to be super self-promoting. And they literally don't talk about themselves. I'm hired by, that's all of the you that's in there.
Yeah.
I'm hired by newly promoted managers, I'm talking about you. Who are struggling with their new position, I'm talking about you. Who want to get their team to cooperate, it's all about you. So they can fast track their next promotion, it's all about you. You, keep the spotlight. I mean, you as in the other person, not yourself. Yes.
So I like really what you shared a lot, and recently I had an opportunity to speak at the Career Summit. It was very random. I said yes. I'm like, what do I have to do?
We all do that.
Yeah. So there was a presentation on negotiations and promotions. I have 25 years experience in the business world. I've done a variety of, so I felt comfortable with the concept. The presentation was made, wasn't my favorite, but I'm like, I'll take it. It was 45 minutes. And they needed a moderator for 2 other panels. So I got like 3 45-minute slots in a 9-to-5 day, which was great. So fast forward a week later, I've got 25 new connections, and I'm trying to write personal, nice to meet you at this, enjoy moderate. Okay, so now what do? I had like one person that had seen me before, and I talked about negotiation and promotion. I'm not a master negotiator, and I implied that, but I could do stuff on career and executive. So I'm a little baffled about, did my
This is a cart before the horse situation.
Totally no.
Yeah.
I just like, I'm taking it.
100%.
I'll take that over not.
Yeah, and get the connection, and you can get strategic with them. Your best bet just right off the bat is to look for people who come in contact with your ideal clients consistently. Those are your centers of influence, and if you make connections with 20 centers of influence, it will keep your business full at all times. But they have to be in contact with your ideal client consistently. Otherwise, they're just someone you like, which is also fine, but it's not a business connection. So I'm going to talk, because I heard pricing and packaging, your services. I heard what's your lead generation strategy, what is your speaking strategy? I heard all of those, and that's what we're gonna talk about in just a minute. We're gonna touch on that. But this is one thing, I made a commitment because I noticed some things last year where I had newer coaches come in and they didn't do the foundational work, and they did speaking, and they flinged out pretty quickly with it, not out of coaching, but just out of working with me, because the foundation wasn't there. So while I encourage coaching, it's like, I mean, speaking, like, get the foundation in place, know what you're about, know what you're charging, know how to have sales conversation, like, know what you're doing alongside it, at the very least. Otherwise, you know, speaking is one of those bright, shiny things that looks so fun and like, oh, I can do that, and look, we're getting clients. And yes, and it's work. And when you do the foundational work, you graduate, you become more mature as an entrepreneur, and you understand that if you're gonna go do a speaking strategy, you understand what it's gonna take. And so it builds a little bit of that fortitude you need for it, because it is not sunshine and roses all the time. Sometimes it really is, but not all the time. So we'll go over that. Okay, one more thing on messaging. There's a dirty word in messaging, and that is or. The word or. People put it in because they don't want to exclude anybody. I do this or that or the other thing. The brain wants to go down one path. If you could lead it down one path, it's super happy, it doesn't use a lot of energy, and people will stay with you. When you start saying or, you're making people's little attention go this way and that way and the other, and they're like, okay, and they don't get the impact of what you're saying. So or is the dirty word. One other thing, if you have a beautiful but complicated name, don't say it. How to
Do you
try
mean
it?
like a company name or a personal name?
Both. either. I had a client, her name was Asya Rybieska Hedin. Isn't it just like the most beautiful name you've ever heard? Yeah, you would not hear anything she said after that, because you're like, oh my God, that was beautiful. And you don't hear what
Try
she
to
does.
spell it in your head.
Yeah, exactly. Where's that from? You know? So be very cautious about what you say at the beginning. I'm hired by. You're getting people's brains right. And the other thing that's great about I'm hired by is it is not, I will help you. People's sales, like, red light alert is very high. I'm hired by, oh, they're just talking about the work they do. I'm letting all my defenses down, and now she's talking about me. So,
Mary, quick question on that. How do you feel about instead of I'm hired by, I work with?
also fine. It's what I used to teach, maybe when you went through it.
Yes, I
Someone
remember
gave me the tweak of I'm hired by, and I'm like, oh yes, I love that. There are cases where it doesn't work, and you just figure that out.
And what about my clients? My
What's that?
clients are, what am I using that phrase?
I think that distances it just a little more. So much of marketing and messaging is about like these little degrees of influence and acceptance. And so my clients, it's okay. I like I'm hired by, better. Just get you right in there, because there's a credibility factor that goes straight in there. I mean, my clients the same thing. But here's the thing, is if you find you just cannot say something, even, no matter how much you practice, you gotta find a different way, because you have to own it.
And so with this, with like, I'm guessing like this really speaks to your like first sort of talking to somebody,
Yes.
not, and then if they act interested at that point and they wanna know more,
Yeah,
they'll indicate, and then you can take it to the next level.
right. Which is not explaining what you do.
Correct.
It's tell me more. What made you say that? Why would you?
Get
Would you
into
like,
it.
this isn't the right place to have this conversation. Why don't we schedule something? And by the way, that's how you start, is you start getting an introduction that is clear, something you can be confident about, and you start talking to people. And believe me, my definition of hell is a mixer.
Yes. Great.
Please don't make me do that. Please don't make me do that. But if you will find there are some networking situations where there's structure to it. And so it's like, okay, you're gonna sit down and meet with Christina and Mary Ellen, right? Okay. And you're gonna meet with them for a little while and you have a small group conversation, sometimes via Zoom even. And so there are things that, for me, I'm an introvert, I recover like an introvert, so mixers. But if there's a little structure and everyone has a role, it gets a little bit easier. But even talking to the people you know, just own that introduction. That's your starting point.
I have one question.
Yes.
About that. So referrals and all that, how about on business cards? What do you normally put if you don't wanna try and steer away from the word coach?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter? Okay.
People barely use business cards anymore, honestly. I don't collect them anymore because I find half the room doesn't have them. I don't carry them. It should have your contact information and anything else you want on it. It doesn't really matter at this point. For you, definitely I would say coach for veterans.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright, thank you.
yeah, thank you. All right, I'm gonna keep going, so we get the rest of this good stuff. Oh, so another success story, this is Kimberly, love her, she was in a corporate job, and she was not happy. So she was building her business alongside what she was doing. Getting the messaging for her was such a big part of being able to own her brilliance, and within 6 months, we built her client generation plan, and then she left her job because she wasn't all the way there to replace her income, but she's like, okay, I'm executing, I'm seeing this is going in the right direction, and she felt confident to leave it. All right, let's talk about the 6 essential elements of a client generation plan. Quick question, do you have a written client generation plan by show of hands? Oh, Christina, you better.
You don't count.
What is a client generation plan?
That is exactly the question, and that's the answer. Most people don't know about a client generation plan because they've never heard of it. They've taken a sales class, a marketing class, a this class, or another class, and all of these bits and pieces are operating independently instead of all intentionally pulling in the same direction. So I've heard a few people talk about a client generation plan. This is the one that I have created as a process. And so what I want to do for you is to show you what a client generation plan looks like, because if you're a more experienced coach, you have some of these things in your business and some of the things you don't have. But if your overall client generation isn't quite to the level you want, distinguishing in a busy business which you need and which are going good, sometimes you just can't see the forest for the trees on this. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to take the details away. I'm going to have you do a quick assessment in these areas. In this way, you will find out what needs the most attention and where should you start. So I'm going to define these, and I'm going to ask you to assess on a scale of 1 to 10 how dialed in these are for you. 1 is low and 10 is high. So I'm going to start over on the left with values and vision, which is rarely a place that coaches have any challenge with whatsoever. I am not a vision person. I'm a what do you do at 9 o'clock on Monday morning to achieve your vision person. So this is where I usually have like a 3.5 that I have to work on. But values and vision, what your understanding of why you're doing what you're doing, it creates a sense of conviction. Because the fact is, we're gonna ask you to do scary things when you start a business. You're gonna put yourself in front of people. You're gonna risk rejection. And so if you don't have that courage, that sense of conviction of I'm gonna do this because it's more important to me that I get to my vision than it is what you say to me today, if you don't have that, it's gonna be very difficult to achieve your goals in your business. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how clear are you on your values and vision? Okay, don't need these, this is for you, okay? It's funny because I was like, oh, I won't have the problem I have on virtual, which is everyone's putting them in the chat. Like 6, 7, all this stuff scrolling by. This is for you. This is for you.
We're so trained on chat.
Can you describe values and vision? What do you mean by that?
Values are, I describe them as like your true north of who you are as a person. They're the things that you have always valued throughout your entire life. They're not something that like, well, when I was a teenager, I felt like this, and now I feel like that. And understand, this is my definition of them, you will encounter others. Okay? So for me, I can see the traces of the value of impact through my entire life. Very embarrassing story in 5th grade where I was the only one raising my hand going, yes, of course we'll save energy for the next generation, and everyone else is looking at me like an idiot, like I'm an idiot. Okay, so impact, freedom, have to have location freedom, have the freedom to do what I want, and variety. I want new things happening, I want new stuff all the time. So those, when I align my business and my choices, my life with my values, things go a lot more smoothly. So that's value. Vision is an idea of where you want to go. Like 5 years down the road, what are the things you want to have? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be helping? What do you want to be earning? It's all of that, all those things that are down the road for where you want to go. It's kind of like, I think of them like bookends. Who you are, where you want to go, values, vision. All right. Pricing and packaging, pretty obvious. How you structure your pricing and packaging has a huge impact on the amount of marketing and lead generation you have to do. Okay, so if you have a 3-month package, you need twice as many leads as if you do a 6-month package. By the way, tip on pricing and packaging, in general with coaches, 6 months minimum. I've talked to so many coaches, I've checked out this theory over and over, and it generally rings true. At 3 months, people are wowed by the transformation. They're super excited, they're seeing what's going on, they're seeing the changes, and the next 3 months, life is gonna throw everything at them to see if it's gonna stick, because people don't like people to change. 6 months is the correct, in most cases, level of service to serve someone as a coach. At minimum, sometimes it's more, but 3 months is usually more about you and your nervousness about charging a 6-month price. Yeah, making it about you. Yay, that feels good. Okay, so pricing and packaging. On a scale of 1 to 10, how clear are you about your pricing and packaging? Are you charging what you're worth? Is it in alignment with your financial goals? Ideal client clarity, we talked about that a bit today. 3 things you need to know about your ideal client: who they are, what they're thinking, and where to find them. Who they are, what they're thinking, and where to find them. On a scale of 1 to 10, how clear are you about that? About those things. Right. Next is magnetic messaging. You got a big heaping spoonful of that today. Messaging is magnetic when you express the value of what you do quickly. I'm going to say that again because your understanding of that phrase when you came in here versus now is probably different. You express the value of what you do quickly from the perspective of the ideal client.
Say it again.
Your messaging is magnetic when you can express the value of what you do quickly from the perspective of your ideal client, how it's valuable to them. All right, lead generation. Lead generation is what are the things you actively do to generate business? Do you go to networking events? Do you do Facebook ads? No, don't do Facebook ads. Do you speak? Do you have a referral network? What do you do? What are the actions you take? What I recommend and what I teach is basically you end up with a formula. It's like, these are the activities you do that you don't hate, that align with your ideal client, where you're showing up, where your ideal client shows up, saying the words that will attract them. But here's the cool thing about a formula and a checklist is you do it and it's done. Marketing being done? What? Have I gone insane? You will know that you've done enough because over time it will turn into the consistency you're looking for. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you're able to bring in the leads that you are looking for on a monthly basis?
Can you give an example?
Lead generation, yes. If you are a speaker, a lead generation activity is speaking inquiries.
What about coaching as lead generation?
Coaching as lead generation.
Yeah, so, I'm trying to figure out what that means.
Okay, so coaching is, lead generation are the activities that lead to clients for coaching, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So what if you don't speak?
If you don't speak, then how do you get clients?
Most all of them are referrals.
Right. Okay, so
Or get them from group coaching, where I do.
Okay, you get them from group coaching?
Individual clients from group coaching.
Okay, how do you get the group coaching clients?
Advertise it out
Advertise it to whom?
to the people that are in my clergy
Okay. So what we just did is I'm tracking it all the way back to what is the action you took. So the action you took was to advertise something out to people. So maybe one of your activities would be advertise a group coaching program to your clergy once a month, twice a month. That would be an activity, you would check it off the list and you do it, and that would get people to the group. And then at the group, maybe every time you do that, you do an invitation to talk to you about individual, okay? With referral generation, the best direction I can send you in for that is the referral generation made simple course that I offered, because that talks about all the different things you can do to nurture your referral partners and the people who refer to you. Okay. And you're welcome. Thanks for asking the question, because it really is about completely tracking it back to 100% controllable activities that are very specifically defined. Because once you do that, guess what? Then you have control over your business and your results as time goes by. Okay, last piece is sales and enrollment. Once you've done all this work and said all these great words and got people on your calendar, are you able to close the sale? Can you ask to be paid what you're worth? Do you know how to explain but not over-explain coaching? Yes, we do. and can you ask, are you able to bring them through, like if you work with corporations, can you bring it through the whole process of decision makers without losing momentum, which can be a real thing. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your sales and enrollment? All right, so now, take a look at your paper, take a look at your ratings. Probably have a little bit of work to do, no?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, the work should be clearer, is what I'm hoping at this point. So, I've made you think a lot. Put your pen down for a second, please. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a vision. So, I want you to think, what would your business look like? And how would you feel if you had 10s across the board, if this was totally optimized, and it was just 10s across the board? How would things be different?
Not be working on my corporate job right now.
Yeah,
I'd be clear.
be clear. Yeah.
I'd be making money.
Making money. I like money. I'm a fan.
But it would be, you'd be so confident about the whole process from start to finish, you wouldn't think about the process anymore. You would just do it.
And that is one of the efficiencies. Has anybody ever done Kaizen efficiency? Right. Mental processing is the #1 drain on any organization of any size. So the less you have to think about it, the more freedom you have. Yeah. That's way in the Wayback Machine, the Kaizen stuff. All right. All right. So one last story. This is Georgia. She lives in rural Australia. Were you in the group with Georgia?
We were in the same group.
Yes. Okay, so Wayback Machine again. She was ready to quit. Brilliant coach, passionate, just everything you can imagine. She's all the advantages, and just could not get anything to work. She was going down the rabbit hole of, oh, I got to do my LinkedIn this, and then all the lives and the articles and the opt-ins, and she's like, I hate doing this stuff, and it's not working, and she'd invested a fortune. Well, we worked together, we got our foundational plan together, and she decided to focus on speaking. And she was like, I'll never find speaking. She did. She did a talk, booked 13 discovery calls, had another speaking gig coming up, and we had to work on scaling after that because it was just coming in fast and furious. It's about being intentional. Now, I'm sure you're super excited for Georgia. Yay! What about you? What is next for you? How do we create lasting impact? I have 3 steps for you to make sure that this information actually turns into better results for you. So the first thing is, what is one bite-sized action you can take? Look over your notes. I'm going to give you a minute to decide on a bite-sized action.
Very coachy.
I am not a coach. I should put a disclaimer on the first. I am not a coach. I will tell you what to do. I think Christina asked me that when she hired me, or maybe it's somebody else, but I've hired business coaches and they just ask me what I thought about it. I just can't do it. You will tell me what to do. Yes, I'm a trainer. I'm a teacher. Yes. Okay. Now, let's get a bigger vision in place. We need the creative centers of your mind on board, not just the analytical world that I love to live in. So if you are comfortable, I invite you to put down your pen, take your hand off your keyboard, and take a deep breath. If you'd like to close your eyes, really sink into it, you're welcome to do that. I'd like you to imagine having a steady stream of great clients coming in. These are clients who happily pay you what you're worth. You're making a difference. You're known for your expertise and your brilliance. And to attract those clients, you have a plan. And it's not just any plan. It's a plan full of things you actually love to implement. Things that are simple and clear, where you feel authentic. You know what to do. You know where to go. And you know what to say. To take prospects from that initial meeting to signing on the bottom line as a client. And you do this with confidence and with consistency and with ease. Take another deep breath. Open your eyes. Got a vision you can get right? Yeah, I hope so. That was number 2. All right, so last piece. If you went through your assessment and you did not have 10s across the board, then the third thing is, what is your plan to get everything where it needs to be so that 1 year from now, you're not wondering and worrying about where your next client is coming from? What is your plan? And if you don't have a plan, I'm happy to sit down on a breakthrough call and talk it through with you. We'll go over your plan, whatever it looks like right now, no judgment. And we'll just find out where are the gaps, where are the holes, and explore solutions so that you can be reaching your goals faster with a lot less stress. So I'm happy to do this for you. It is a complimentary call. I just have 2 qualifications. They are important. Number 1, you have to be open to direct feedback. Yeah. And number 2, you have to be willing to consider investing in yourself. If we both see that working together further will get you that plan that you need so you're enrolling new clients consistently. Fair? All right. So here is the link, breakthroughcall.biz. There's a QR code up there. It's extremely fancy now. It's a calendar link. You just pick your date, pick your time, one less thing to think about. And if you're thinking, okay, I'm jotting it down, that looks good, I'll get to it. I know it happens, like the minute you walk out of here, you've got other things to do. So I'm going to incentivize all this clarity and good intention so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. When you do book your call today, I will give you a copy of my ebook, Strategy and Encouragement for the Impact-Driven Entrepreneur. It's kind of like Chicken Soup for the Soul, but a little bit sassier and snarkier. Any questions about this? All right. Last but not least, 12 years ago, November 10, 2010, I was in a business that I hated. I hated it. I was making a living, which really sucked, because I couldn't just leave it and leave it. I didn't know what to do next. I was undervaluing, undercharging. I was allowing myself to be in situation after situation where I was undervalued. And that just started to crush my spirit that I didn't know what to do next. I went to a meeting very similar to this. And in the middle of the presentation, the speaker said one sentence. And I was like, that's it. I don't care that I don't know what's next. I cannot do this anymore. I quit my business, I phased out my clients, and I started this business. It has not been all sunshine and roses, but it has been stepping into my strengths and my voice. And here's the quote. A major source of unhappiness in the world is people settling for what is passable instead of reaching for what is possible. Every time I present, I am hoping that you have gained a tool or an insight or perspective shift that will make your vision, your possibilities, your reality just a little bit sooner.
stick around for 15 minutes, I'll just be cleaning up, mingle, network. Structure, you too. 'Cause it's not a mixer. Yes, I've got cheese and soda here, but it's not a mixer. But
So one of the
anyways.
things I'm doing is I'm working with ICF more. I've started meeting with more leadership and so forth, so any direction, any introductions on how to be more involved. I am looking to do that, just to be more of a positive impact. I see a lot of things that I know I can be helpful with.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
Yes.
that's my big pitch. And Monica, I hope you didn't stay around just to give me a ride, because I can find another ride.
No, I wanted to hear what you had to say.
Okay.
I'm not contagious, y'all. I have asthma and something set me off right when I came
Yeah.
in, so I'm not contagious.
It's better.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.